Okay, ladies, I am excited for you to meet today's podcast guest. Some of you may know her, some of you may not, but after today, you will know her even more than ever before. So let me introduce to you Arna van Goch, who's a business automations coach. And I know you're like, Leighanne, like, what's that? Of course, I'm going to tell you, and then she's going to let you know even more when she shares. So let me give you a little tip, right? Okay, so Arna, she helps 5-figure entrepreneurs hit 6 figures by streamlining their businesses and strategies to work less, but we like it, earn more. Like, who doesn't want to earn more? And now, over her own entrepreneurial journey, she's worked with online businesses to land 6-figure contracts and support businesses reaching 7-figure contracts. Now, she's not a lady who likes to stay at home. She's out and about and adventurous. She has lived on 3 continents and 5 countries in the last decade. Like, have you even traveled that much, ladies, in the last decade? And Arna values the importance of communication in all different settings, whether it's in the office or it's in the boardroom or in the classroom, or my favorite, at the dinner table. So understanding how people communicate, how they listen and react is crucial to having successful relationships. And Anna's going to share a little bit more about that later. And this is why she's so super duper passionate about working with social media. Now, it's not just posting your likes and your pictures of your cat and your dog and your dinner on Instagram. No, Anna's going to show you a little bit more of how to use it effectively. And it's about how people are communicating. So we need to understand how it works and what it means to be communicating in this way. And besides working very, very hard online to get her clients raising up their game, she has an avid passion for travel, energy work, and awesome Netflix series like Next in Fashion. Ladies, I bring you Arna van Goch. Welcome, Arna.
Woo! Hey!
Yay!
I love you so much, Leighanne. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So good to see you today. And how are you doing today?
Yes, I'm doing very, very well. I mean, we're, on the cusp of a heat wave, so I've got my shorts on and ready to roll.
Yeah, great. It's been so good. And like, how's things been going kind of in this time? How you managing with things?
I think we all have roller coasters, right?
Yeah.
Life is one big roller coaster. So for me, it hasn't been different from anyone else. Just because I'm a business automations coach, just because I truly value high performance doesn't mean that I don't have bad days or even bad weeks. Come to that. And I think it's really important for us at this moment just to take stock of ourselves, who we are, what our values are, and live by them as truthfully as possible so that we can get the most out of ourselves. And this has been a really important time in the last few months just to, look within rather than look without. And it's been an interesting journey, and obviously some uncomfortable truths and therefore some uncomfortable conversations. And I guess that's what we're going to talk about today, right?
Yes, definitely. That was really good lead in. Some uncomfortable conversations. Now, I'm not really a person that likes confrontation, even from like school days. If I've had to pull someone up at work or in business, it really makes me feel like lots of thoughts, feelings, fears coming to me, like what's going to happen afterwards. I think I fear what's going to happen afterwards more than the conversation. So I really wanted to kind of talk to you because I know you're a lady who's very well seasoned in having those uncomfortable conversations and advising people as well. And I wanted to ask, like, how do we effectively have those kind of uncomfortable conversations in work or in business, etc.?
That's a really big question. So let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah,
okay?
Definitely.
So first of all, a conversation is uncomfortable because you're afraid of what's going to happen after it.
Yeah.
Exactly like you say. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. And so for me, having an uncomfortable conversation really means setting an intention about what you want from the conversation. Understanding this is what I need from this conversation. And I'll use a couple of examples that I've had over the last couple of weeks because, the Black Lives Matter movement has absolutely exploded all over the world. And, as a person of color, it's very important for me to know, to a certain extent, who is on my side, right? Who's going to be supportive of me? Where are my white allies at? Because my life is quite whitewashed. Because I'm half Taiwanese, I'm half Dutch. I grew up in Taiwan in a Western school. I lived in Australia, in the UK, and Denmark. All of these very white places. And so for me, it was really important to kind of have slightly uncomfortable conversations with people to better understand where they're coming from, and also what my values are, because I think a lot of these conversations explore you as much as you explore the other person. And as people, we are so easily judgmental. And it's a natural thing. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be the Dalai Lama and you are still going to judge people. The difference between judgmental, jerk faces and normal people or nice people is your ability to be aware of that judgment. And so when you are aware, okay, I'm making a judgment. This is something that, really bothers me. It's triggering me. Then you can actually step away from that. You can separate that judgment from you and who you are as a person. So, going into these conversations with friends over the last few weeks, I've been scared. Like, I've literally been shaking because I'm like, I don't know what they're going to say. And I'm judging them already because I'm judging that they're, anti-Black Lives Matter, when that's maybe not the case. It's just that I've built this story up in my head because of the way that we've been interacting. And so when I have these conversations, I really have to keep my emotions in check. And I'm not going to lie, it doesn't always work because this is something that's very personal to me, growing up between two very, very different cultures, having really, really awkward conversations. Like, I'll never forget when I was in Bali. How old was I? I was quite young. And this man kind of made a joke about wanting to buy me as a bride. And that really freaked me out. And I was like, what is this? Like, I don't understand. But it was a joke because it's in the culture. It's a barter, dowry, blah, blah, blah. And it took me a while to kind of understand that and get over that. And, I was young, so I didn't really have any emotions to express, because also in this culture, you're supposed, especially if you're a woman, you're supposed to be quiet and not say anything. So, so it was a lot of internal work that I had to experience. So when you're going into that conversation, make sure that your emotions are in check. If you need to scream into a pillow, if you need to cry it out, do that, because then when you're calm, you're going to be able to respond a lot better to anything than when you're incensed and when you're agitated. And I think that's really important. And I like to think of it, because I've done conflict resolution training at length as well in my many past lives. One way I really like to think of it is as a coat that I'm wearing. My emotions are a coat. And what I do is I hang it up on a hook and I step away from that. So now my emotions are there and I am here. So that's the difference. So whatever happens, I am not my emotions, and my emotions don't own me. Well, when you step into the conversation, it's so much easier to be able to interact, because sometimes I've had to practice it as well, is like when you're mediating an argument, you have to stop yourself and go, oh, I'm taking a side. Okay, stop. Put that jacket, this jacket has snuck up on me, put that jacket away, and really be aware. And even if it takes time, I think this is another thing that a lot of people don't realize. It's okay to take your time. You don't have to respond immediately. You don't have to come up with something immediately, because that's when your emotions start going to overdrive. That's when your emotions take over. But if you stop and you just process, what is it that they've said? And you can even say, okay, I need a minute to process. Because then they know that you're not freaking out, and they know that you're not judging, but you're just processing. Okay, I need a minute to process. Okay, so they said this, and this is how I feel, but this is what I'm thinking. And then you can actually take a little bit of time to put something together. And, talking about that as well, taking time to process, I think it's also really important that you're willing to see the other side of the argument. And so this part So this is something I directly learned from a
Yeah.
process of deep democracy. It's
Mm.
a conflict resolution process, and I worked with the founder for a year and a half or something, for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredible, and it was incredible learning and understanding what it means to
Mm.
take the other side of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do this with other people, but it's probably better if you do it yourself
Okay.
alone. And again, it has to do with um, taking sides, right? So
Yeah.
for example, you can say, purple is a great color. Okay. I love purple.
Yeah.
Purple's gorgeous. It's Leighanne's favorite color.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, it's not great. You know, it's the color of royals, and that to me
Uh-huh.
says establishment, and I'm anti-establishment.
Uh-huh.
And then you go to the other side. But purple also means, in like the chakras, like purple is also like a very spiritual color. It means
Mm-hmm.
violet. It means cleansing. You know, it means connection to your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling emotions, right, when I'm arguing this point.
Yeah.
But when I'm anti-establishment, I don't have that many emotions, so I can observe that, and I can be like, so I care more about the cleansing than I care about being anti-establishment. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's something there. So maybe it's okay to like purple,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
obviously, this is a very basic, non-emotionally charged argument.
Yeah.
This is a safe one, but
Yes.
try and do this with other. Try and do this with other
Mm.
processes. So I've done this process with my relationship with my parents, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like most relationship with parents are always a little bit, you have
Yeah.
good phases, bad phases. But again, I I feel hurt and I feel unloved. We were only doing what we thought was best for you.
Mm.
And then suddenly it's like, oh, like, eesh, I can't really be angry anymore. So when
Yeah.
you're pulling out these arguments, you can actually feel what hits home.
Mm-hmm.
So we were only doing what we thought was best. They thought that.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that hit me, the thought we thought we were doing our best. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so your intention was pure. So I can't be angry at your intention. I can't be angry at your actions. So suddenly the argument changes. And
Definitely.
so again, like this is where keeping your emotions in check and being aware of what's happening and what words hit you can
Mm-hmm.
really help you understand the other side of the argument a lot better.
Yeah. That's really, really key. Like just changing the perspective just by asking the questions. Wow. Yeah, I like that. Definitely. That's really, really helpful. And just to kind of, just go through what you just kind of shared and stuff. I took a few notes down and stuff of what you were saying, and just I particularly liked when, going into those uncomfortable conversations is like, what's the intention I want to get out from this conversation? Because that is definitely, you've got a purple bottle, yay!
Yes, you do.
So definitely like, what's the intention? Because sometimes I'm worried about what the person will say, but definitely what's the intention I want out? And I really got to kind of put that into my mind first. And I love what you said about being aware that me personally, I know I'm easily judgmental and stuff, and being aware of that. And I like the idea of the emotional jacket, to put it on a hanger, put it up on the door, leave it there. And then when I feel like I am trying to, quickly just sneak a little shoulder back into that jacket, just be aware that, okay, I'm mainly using my emotions here rather than actually looking at the situation. And you know what is good as well, because sometimes some people give you a question or want a response, and it's okay to kind of step back and say, you know what, I need time to respond, because I also forget that I've had time to mull this issue over in my head, over in my heart, and then just kind of go woof, and then just expect someone to respond with an appropriate response right there and then on their feet. Either they're a well-trained lawyer who's used to respond on their feet all the time, or they're just a bit like, I actually need to process what you said and mull it over. And that's something that I can really grow into, allow people to have the chance or time to respond effectively, because then it can get frustrating. You're like, is that all you've got to say? And it's like, and that's not all they've got to say. That's all they had to say at that moment in time. And I love the thing of taking the time to see, like, to answer the question, like when you gave the example of your parents, like, this hurt me, we were only trying to do our best. And then that kind of changed it from like, everything you did gave this response to me, but it's really changing this perspective. I love that. And I really like that kind of shift, to kind of look at it from the other side, because when we kind of first discussed like looking at it from the other side, I was thinking, no, my idea, my thoughts, and that they're right, these are the winners. But when you said to just ask the questions and then just have the shift to understand where their thought process came, where the decision making came from, that really helps. And I really liked that, what you shared about that. Definitely really, really helpful.
Yeah.
And then that was really, really good. And then I like it. It's an area that I'm definitely gonna have to grow in. Definitely gonna have to grow in. It's not I don't know, it's not a natural one for me to kind of definitely say like, yeah, I'll try and understand your perspective. It's something I definitely need to, probably everyone need to grow in as well. And then I was thinking as well, like, I always remember like from school days having arguments with girls at school and stuff. So I went to an all girls school, which can be a bit, you know. Um, but in like now in times of business, and particularly like this kind of new normal kind of online business, and how we're going to go to new normal face to face, 2 meters distance business. Not too sure how it's going to work, but it will work. We'll make it work. And with like difficult conversations, is it still important, as far as it is, you know, according to you, like, is it still important to always be kind, professional, even when we're having difficult contract negotiations, conversations, someone didn't pay the invoice on time, you know, all of those type of things? Is it still important to be kind, and how do we maintain that?
That's a really good question. So being kind for me is about, again, I come back to this, living about your values, living with your values, living per your values. So one of my values is I'm efficient. I'm always like, I got you. Like if a client emails me, I will always email back within 24 hours because they're all over the world. So it's, you know, if they email me at 2:00 in the morning, I'm obviously not going to reply immediately. But you know, trying to keep some semblance of a life, because and again, this is where values come in. I have a set time where I respond to emails, and that's between 9 and 5. And so that is my boundary that I've set. And people know this. I check my email and I'll respond between 9 and 5 UK time. So if somebody in Australia emails me at 2:00 in the morning, they can expect that I will reply the next day.
Yeah.
Right? That's why. And so I think, you know, being kind is also about expectation.
Yeah.
So when you are living with your values, people know what your values are, and therefore they can create an expectation around that. I know for me that every single time I've been let down is because I've forced my values onto other people.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I've been disappointed. But whose fault is it? Is it theirs or is it mine? Because I forced my values on them. And my sister actually mentioned this sometime last year. She was like, Arna, I can tell that you're upset that I didn't reply immediately to you. And I'm like, whoa. It's like, because I'm super efficient, I will reply immediately.
Yeah.
She takes 3 hours because she's not glued to her phone like I am. And apparently she can tell that I'm upset. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And then I really had to work through that. I really had to create space in myself that other people don't share this value of efficiency that I have. And so when you're able to, again, identify the values that people are coming from, when you're able to identify the your values and what you're thrusting upon other people, it's so much easier to be kind.
Yeah.
Because you're understanding. And, you know, with value also comes intention. So I want to go back to this because I live my life with a very careful intention. Every day I set, I just moved my laptop. Every day I set an intention. These are the 3 things that I want to feel today. And then my subconscious gets to work. You know, I want to have fun today. I want to be productive today. I want to feel connected. And all these things are working in the background because I set that intention. And so you set an intention when you go into the conversation. I need to hear, I am pro Black Lives Matter, for example, and I want to grow the friendship. Okay, those are intentions I've set, and they align with my values. So it's much easier to connect with those intentions and bring them into reality. So when the conversation that I had with a friend, when she said something that like I could have hung up the phone,
Yeah.
My intention was, I want to grow this friendship. So this
Yeah.
is a growth moment. So instead of hanging up,
Mm.
I held back and we talked it out because we were able to grow from this experience.
Yeah.
So when you set those intentions, and you can set an intention to be kind.
Yeah.
I want to be kind and loving. You know, I have a, this is quite funny. So I have a, what do you call it? My higher self, right? My
Yeah.
alter ego, some people call it. And it's Arna the Wonder Woman.
Ah.
Yeah. And I'm a passionate, gracious, get stuff doneer, right?
Hmm.
So I repeat this to myself. So before we got on this call, and I'm going to be talking about that, I think, in another episode, but
Yeah.
before we got on this call, I repeated that to myself. I really embodied it. I felt into it,
Hmm.
you know? And this is also why I use a standing desk when I do coaching or when I do podcast interviews,
Yeah.
because I get to move, I get to ground myself, and I get to create this vision of myself, and I embody that in my
Hmm.
soul and in my body. So yeah, and so that's a really great way to be able to really kind of push yourself into um, being a better version of you, because
Hmm.
she or he already exists.
Yeah.
It's already there. You just have to say yes to accessing him or her.
Hmm. I like that, definitely. Yeah, just to, wow, there's a lot, even in a lot in the question, a lot in the answer, definitely. Just like your values really direct and lead your behavior, and that's really, really true. And I was having a conversation with my friend earlier about like my values, and when, you know, and managing expectations, which is key. And I loved it when you said that your sister knew that you were cross with her because she didn't respond in like, within the time, and she was like, she knew you're upset and stuff, and then she felt that you'd put your values onto her, and that I can totally relate with that. And I'm like, like, I can see you're online on WhatsApp. Why, I mean,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm like, why? Like, do you want lunch tomorrow? It's a yes, no question. Like,
yeah,
don't need an essay.
yeah, very. I can totally relate, and
Yeah.
really identifying the values that people are coming with, because my values may not be the same values as other people, and I can't like put my values on other people, definitely. And I like when you said, like, set the day. My intention is going to have fun today, expect great things, going to be connected, and really aligning my I liked when you said conversation with friends, and aligning, like, when you said like it could have kind of gone left in the conversation with your friend, we could like just put the phone down. But it was like, no, see this moment as a time to grow the friendship. How can we progress and let it align with like our values and intentions and stuff, and setting the day like, I'm gonna be kind today, or kind things are gonna happen to me today as well. And just saying that loud. I like that you said, like, saying out loud, I'm Arna the Great, I'm Arna the Wonderful, etc. Definitely, I really like that. And I like that you're standing up. I've got a standing desk as well, but I'm sitting down on it. But it does give you a different type of oomph, energy. You can like I feel like I'm totally on charge when I'm standing up and I'm teaching and doing, particularly like I can relate when I'm doing my voiceover stuff. I always stand to do that because it gives me a totally different voice, different
Mhm.
energy, different continuity. So I really, really liked that you said that. And then just to say and I love the end bit that you said about saying who you are, because it's already in there. Because sometimes, I've done things where I've done visualization and I've said like, oh, I will be this or I will be that. And that's like something in the future, one day, maybe one day. But saying it as I am confident, I am a good, that really helps me to own it for that day, that very moment. And I can really see and hear the difference and the shift in that. And then that was really helpful to think about like kindness, intentions, expectations and stuff. And I wanted to ask as well about, now, this has always been one that's always kind of got me, because I remember in early years, whenever I'd get feedback, it wasn't always delivered in the nicest way. So I remember like, I want to ask you this question: is it important, right, to ask for not friendship, to ask for feedback, or to actually engage in that part of the conversation? Like maybe after an interview, after a test, or could even be after, like, I don't know, even after a date or something, like how did it go and stuff, so you can improve rather than like not getting called. Do you know what I mean? So you can kind of know and understand, like, okay, this is a learning opportunity for you. I want to learn more about myself. How am I presenting myself to others? Like, what would you say to kind of opening up the gate to feedback?
Well, first of all, um, feedback is a really touchy subject everywhere. I have lived literally all around the world. Nobody really likes feedback.
Yeah.
Second of all, we do live in the UK.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming a lot of your listeners are British.
Yeah.
And there's that whole like British stiff upper lip polite thing that
Yeah.
I cannot stand. Like
Yeah.
it drives me nuts.
Mhm.
And um and this is coming from the really Dutch and Taiwanese side of me. Like,
Yeah.
we're a little bit more direct. Like, my mom will say to me now, Arna, your hair's a mess.
Mm.
And she doesn't mean it. She doesn't
Oh,
mean to hurt me, but she's saying your hair is a mess, period.
okay.
Fix it, right? Because it's fixable,
Yeah.
right? Or go put on another shirt. Like, it doesn't look good because it doesn't look good to her. It's her opinion. So, and in Holland, it's the same. People are just so much more direct, and it's interesting. I've sat around dinner tables before with my family, and
Yeah.
they just have like a argument, but they're so detached from the argument that
Okay.
it's not emotional.
Okay.
And so I've really learned from that. I just need to take emotion out of the feedback, you know? And so, because it doesn't matter that it's not nice. Who cares that it's not nice? It's feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you take that emotion out of it and therefore stop making it so personal. Like if I wrote a blog post, you can reply to me and say, Arna, I didn't really like this blog post. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
sit very well. It's like, okay, well, first of all, I wrote that blog post based on my values.
Yeah.
I set my intention, and you did not receive that intention,
Mm.
right? Your opinion also doesn't determine how valuable I am as a person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I can sit there and go, okay, thank you. And I can go reread that blog post
Mm-hmm.
through your eyes and go, okay, I see what she meant from her point of view. And maybe I can fix that. Maybe I need to, maybe I can leave it because you are
Yeah.
one person out of 8 billion people in the world that didn't like the blog. Well, 8 people that read it that didn't like the blog post.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a real necessity for us to just understand that it's not negative as such. And I've started doing this to people because I'm in the online business space. People
Yeah.
come to me all the time and they want to sell me all types of stuff.
Mm.
And it's really, it's almost laughable how many times I get sold in a day. It is just, right? And it's interesting how they do it.
Okay.
So one person, for example, let me try and pick a good one. I think it was, yeah. So one person, for example, yesterday was my birthday, and she said something like, "Oh, I have this platform, and it's great discounts for travel, right?" And
Okay.
I was like, "Okay, um, thanks, but I have no idea who you are. We've never
Mm.
spoken before. I don't know what a travel platform discount platform looks like,
Mm.
and like I don't want to have another username and password to remember." Like,
Yeah.
so and I said to her, like, listen, I have like genius status on booking.com. I'm a Hilton honors member.
Mm.
I am a Ivory member with Flying Blue or whatever. Like,
Mm.
I don't want to have another one, and I don't want it to impact
Mm.
that. So I was giving her direct feedback on how she needs to be wording herself so
Yeah.
that I will be more interested in her stuff. I said, if you can say you can still keep your points, then I would be more interested, but I'm not. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying no thank you, I explained to her why, and that's
Yeah.
feedback. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like you're a dick, like, because
Yeah.
it's not, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had this one person, we became friends and somehow we never chatted, so it was like, fine, it happens, right? It's the internet.
Yeah.
And it was such a surprise to see how many people wrote me happy birthday, and I'd never spoken to them in my life. I was like, I have no idea who you are, but thank you.
Yeah.
And somebody said, hey, I'm opening this new group and it's for high performance, so here's a link if you're interested. And I was like, really, really not.
Yeah.
And so if I would ever get a reply like that, I would say, thank you so much for replying.
Yeah.
Can I ask why? because I just wanted, and I would have, and if he had done that, I would have said, because we've never spoken. You don't know who I am. You don't know if this is suited to me, and you're just throwing something at me because you're going down your friends list. And my name starts with an A, so I was obviously one of until Facebook froze you and put you in Facebook jail. And so I just think it's so important to just understand the other side. Again, this is understanding the other side, and therefore you can ask for feedback. And again, separating yourself from the feedback, it's just the way that you can move forward a little bit, because it's a little bit easier when you separate yourself from that.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of hard work, you guys. Like, it's tough to sit there and go, okay, I'm not my business. My business is separate from me. This means nothing. And especially as women, as women, we put so much value in what other people say.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at the point where I can play with that a little bit. So I'm like, okay, I put a lot of value on what other people say. So I literally have a folder, an album in my phone called positive feedback. So if I feel low, I can go and look, because I need that, right?
It.
And then if I get one crappy message from someone, I can go and look, well, there's 20 people that said I was amazing. So that makes it easier for me.
Yeah.
So it's about building up your fortress, whatever that looks like. If it's, binge watching Friends on Netflix, if it's, like doing anything that makes you feel good, whatever that is. I hope it's not binge watching. Maybe it's just going for a walk, 10 minutes, just to say, that's throwing it in the wind, that feedback may be uncomfortable, but maybe it's a truth that you need to learn.
Wow.
My sister calling me out, that was feedback.
Yes.
Yeah. And it forced me to chill out.
Definitely. Yeah. And is it more impacting because it's one of your near and dearest giving you feedback rather than a business contact or a friend from? Is there a difference, the impact of it?
100%. I didn't take it well. Like
yeah.
But again, it's about not taking it well in that moment, because my emotions were wrapped around me, right? And I put up my defenses because my emotions were taking over my brain. But again, once you're able to step back, and even if it's an hour, a day, a year later, you can always still do this, because your emotions are always going to be there. Your emotions are like the clouds in the sky that is you, and the emotions are always going to come back. It's nature,
Yeah, very true. That's really, really helpful. And I liked that inviting, asking for feedback and stuff. And I like the example that you gave earlier when you said that your mum said, "Oh, Arna, your hair doesn't look good," and then to really separate the feedback from the emotion. So she wasn't saying that you are not good, you don't look good. She was saying, just your hair, just here, that does not look good. And sometimes I think I can overdo the feedback, etc. Say, she said, if it was me, she said, my hair doesn't look good, my whole outfit doesn't look good, I don't look good, I don't feel good. And it just spirals. And I think, then I can be like, everybody thinks this. Why didn't someone else say that to me? It can just add and kind of snowball and stuff. And really understanding and detaching the emotion from it, because emotions are good, correct, etc., but they need to be put in check as well, so you can actually see what's going on and know what to do with what's going on. And I love that you said understanding the other person's side and why they gave that feedback. Like when you gave the blog example and they said, I didn't like this part, etc., and just being able to relate to their perspective. And I loved as well building up your fortress and stuff, like having like your power notes and stuff. I have like power scriptures and that, and good quotes or things from the Bible or something that's going to get me going. So if I read something horrible, or I could have heard something horrible as well, just to refocus my mind. That's really, really definitely true. Building up your own fortress, whichever kind of works. I really, really love that. And it does really hurt when someone close and near dear to you gives you feedback, etc. You're like, oh no, it does really. For me, definitely it does. Other people, I'm like, nah, you don't know me. like
yeah, that. But again, like, let's think about it. How much does my sister really know me?
Yeah.
How much do I know me?
gosh, some days over this lockdown, I'm like, I don't even know who I am some days, you know?
Exactly. So does it really matter? This
Mm-hmm.
is a sentence that was breathed out in the heat of a moment. It was
Yeah.
her emotions talking. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't her. It's not, she doesn't not want to have lunch with me.
Yeah.
Right? She still wants to have lunch with me. She just doesn't want to have to reply in the first 20 minutes of my
Yeah.
text. So, you know, again, it's about just making it, because remember that our brains are built to protect ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Our brains are built to run away from the big bad saber-toothed tiger.
Mm-hmm.
Still,
Mm-hmm.
to this day.
Yeah.
We don't have any more saber-toothed tigers. So our brain makes them in the
Yeah.
form of negative feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not. It's
Yeah.
really not. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so true. It's really, really not, you know, definitely. Yeah, so those are the main things I wanted to really speak about today. Like we spoke about, like, you know, having the awkward, difficult, I mean, even like with me, even just changing my mindset, like, you know, just going into the conversation with the intention that I want to share this to express to the person how I felt. And rather than me branding it saying like, I'm going into an awkward conversation, because that just makes it awkward and it doesn't need to be. And for that person, they might think, oh, Leighanne, you're a bit weird because you're coming to me with all of this false and etc. So I need to go into, I'm just going to have a conversation about this topic, and this is my intention for the end result. So that changing my mindset when I'm going into it and stuff. And I liked how you explained about seeing the other person's perspective or argument on it, and that was helpful, because at first I was like, I don't know how she's going to get around this one.
Yeah, and you know what really helps, Leighanne? It really helps to physically move.
Yeah.
Because once you're able to, because then you have this invisible line, right?
Yeah.
And once you physically move, you can actually feel the air change. Like if you're super intuitive, you can be like, oh, on the other side.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's good because it's good practice for you as well to really learn better where other people are coming from.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And life is definitely about learning. And obviously I'm constantly trying to learn about myself, but I really do need to learn a lot more about other people and give them a chance. Like, I think that was one of the other points you said as well, just give people a chance to respond. Because sometimes, because I know that I'm quite good at thinking on my feet and and then, like what you said again about expectations, etc., putting that onto someone else, and everybody's built differently, definitely built differently. And I really love the
And you know
points.
how sometimes, sorry, so you know how sometimes you have like, oh, I should have said that, right? And that's because you didn't give yourself enough time to process. So you didn't have that really cool, like, you know, short biting response because you didn't process it, and you were still processing it after. And I think that's also really annoying with uncomfortable conversations. If you talk too fast, you're not properly processing the information. So you're only listening to speak, you're not listening to hear what they have to say. So
Very, very helpful.
that makes a big difference.
Definitely that's really, really helpful, that part. Definitely, you know, listening so that I can hear what the person's saying, rather than like, okay, when she's finished talking, I'm going to talk. When she's finished talking, I'm going to talk. Yeah, because I can definitely go into that mode because I know what I want to say and stuff. And definitely a learning curve for me. And I liked what you mentioned as well about, I like the emotional jacket, hanging that one up, putting it in check, looking at the situation. Really, really helpful, particularly for women, because sometimes the emotions can kind of lead us on or in, etc. And definitely that's a really good one. And just looking at intentions and value, I really love that. Going into the conversation, aligning it with that, and aware of judging, that I'm judgmental. Everyone's got their own different parts of judgment. Just being aware of it, going into the conversation with it, and that and as well what you said as well, taking the time to respond and taking the other person's side, not necessarily staying on that side, but being aware to go and look and listen at why that person's thinking or saying and responding in that way. And I loved as well at the end when we spoke about like feedback, because I used to always dread the 6 months appraisal at my old job. When it used to come, it's like, oh my gosh, every single year we're doing this appraisal thing. It's the same thing every year. But really inviting it as an opportunity for me to change, to learn, to grow, and separate the emotion from the actual feedback. Like when you said your mum says your hair doesn't look nice, not saying that you're not nice or you don't look nice, just this part of you, the
Just
hair.
go brush it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to
It's a very
separate it.
simple solution.
Very,
Like,
very,
yeah.
very,
Yeah.
really, really helpful. I've learned so much. Definitely from all of the points that you shared today, Arna. And just before we kind of go as well, I was just wondering if there's anything that you're going to be working on, or any projects or challenges or anything that's happening in the next few months or rest of this year that our listeners might be interested in.
Yeah, of course. So I have there's so much going on right now. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. So I don't even know where to start. But I think the best thing to do, I think you already have it anyway, and hopefully you'll be putting in the show notes the 5 ways to focus better freebie that I have.
Oh, nice.
It's literally 5 things that you can implement within 15 minutes, and you're going to find better focus in the day, and you're actually going to be more productive in your day. And once you sign up for that, you'll be popped onto my newsletter. So you'll be able to hear about my new group program that's coming out, that is really about unfogging your business and streamlining your business in a way. And that can be actually applicable to many different online service providers. I also have a membership that is coming out the end of the summer. Haven't decided on a date yet, but that is really just the nuts and bolts of how to do certain things to make sure that you're not wasting your time on doing admin and all of these boring things. You can actually focus on growing yourself and of becoming a better person. So yeah.
Nice. Excellent. That sounds really, really great. And then where do you hang out online? Where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my 2 favorite channels are Facebook and Instagram. So you can definitely find me on there. I'm called Being Dutch-anese. So again, head to the show notes because I realize that's kind of hard to spell. So it's just being and then Dutch-anese. And that obviously I'm trying to incorporate my Dutch and Taiwanese heritage together. And so that's what happens when you put a Dutch and a Taiwanese person in one body. You get multiculturalism to the max.
Definitely. Yeah, it's such an interesting blend, definitely. And then thank you so much for sharing about like what's going on in business, like the group sounds like it's going to be interesting, and the membership as well, really unfogging the business. That sounds really, really key. Definitely. I'm excited to hear more about that, and I'll put it into the show notes. And was there any final thoughts you wanted to share with the listeners before we go?
Be kind to yourself. I think I've been told this a lot in my lifetime, and I never really understood what it meant. And I think what's important is when you're being kind to yourself, just take a step back. You don't have to be full throttle all the time. You don't even have to be Wonder Woman all the time. I'm only Wonder Woman 20% of the time. You don't have to do it all the time. And so just be kind to yourself, whatever that means. If it means a bowl of ice cream on a Monday night, if it means just a little break in the middle of the day, whatever that means for you, just observe it for yourself and give yourself some credit. You only have one life to live.
Definitely. Yeah, I really love that. Be kind to yourself. Definitely. And just thank you so much, Arna, for everything that you shared today, all of the points you shared. It's just been such an interesting learn, to learn more about you, business, myself. And I really am sure the listeners have heard so much, lots of different tips and stuff, and they know how to get in contact with you. And I'm sure they'll get hold of me if they can't get hold of you directly. But it's been such an honor to have you on the podcast, and it's just been so great. It's just been like a chat with one of my sisters, I must say. It's been really, really, really great to just learn more about you, and I can't wait to the next one that we record. We're going to learn so much more, and it's just been great. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing.
Absolute pleasure, Leighanne. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.